Hey everybody, welcome back to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, I thought since it is the end of the year, 2021 is coming to a close, I thought I would just kind of go back and take a look at some of my favorite 80s slashers that I watched this year and some of my least favorite or my worst my worst favorite 80s slashers I've watched this year. Here in front of you, I have a bunch of the ones that I've watched, reviewed, or included in some rankings or whatnot. There's others that I've watched or seen that are not here, but these are just a good chunk of the ones here that we've looked at this year. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm not really going to rank them in top five best, top five worst. I'm just going to take a look at five of my favorites and five of my least favorite. I guess they would be kind of in some sort of an order, but not necessarily. Like I said, I'm not really ranking them from 1 to 5 or anything like that. Now, in terms of the ones that when we talk about like my five favorite, they- they're not going to be they're not included on this list because they're in order of the best films. It's not really like going to be discussing in terms of what is the best film. It's more based on just my overall experience with it, and there's a whole bunch of factors that play into that. Like expectations, some of these films I had low expectations for, and they exceeded them. Some I had really high expectations for, and they really disappointed me in terms of those expectations, And then there's other factors like, well, obviously the quality of the movie for one thing. The quality in terms of how it fits with the 80s slasher formula is a factor. Some of the factors are based on like the packaging, just like the overall package and how the experience was, ordering the film, receiving it, watching it, reviewing it. It's just basically when I look back on the year, which of these films I just had a really good time with and just was just a good experience. And at the other end of the spectrum is, which experiences were a little lackluster. So I don't know if that makes sense. It's just kind of, the best and worst of 2021. So yeah, so let's just get into this. Like I said, we're not really gonna rank these, but we'll we'll start off by talking about some of the films that I thought some of the worst films on this list. All right, so all right, let's get into it. Let's take a look at the first one. All right, so the first one on this list is Cutting Class. Now, this isn't this like I said, this isn't a bad film. I kind of enjoyed this film. The problem I had with this was I was really looking forward to this. I don't know. It's just one of those films that I hadn't seen before, and I had wanted to watch it for a really long time, and I finally got around to getting it and watching it. And, it has Brad Pitt in an early role, which is kind of a fun. It's kind of a an intriguing factor. And like I said, it's and besides Brad Pitt, sorry, it had like was it yeah, Roddy McDowall and Martin Mull had a really good cast. It's like a school slasher. I love the school slasher, so I was really excited. I thought I was really gonna like this, and I did like it. It's not a bad film, but unfortunately, the humor in this film kind of ruined. I shouldn't say ruined it, because like I said, I did like the film, but the humor in this film is bizarre. It should have been left out. They tried to insert it in. It's not even like a parody mocking of the genre. It's just they tried a really weird type of humor. And for me, it didn't work, and it kind of took me out of the film whenever they inserted these. And it wasn't throughout, like it wasn't scattered evenly throughout. It was just every once in a while they would, a lot of the scenes with Martin Mull, um, yeah, it's just weird, and I didn't really like that. So because of that, this was kind of a disappointing watch. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, so the next one we have here is The Forest, 1982. And again, similar to Cutting Class, I was really looking forward to this one. My expectations weren't super high because I was aware of the reputation that this film, um, this doesn't have a good reputation. Really low rated on Internet Movie Database. But the cover art is so amazing. It's a deep woods slasher, which I love. It's an early '80s slasher, which I love. So I did, even though I tempered my expectations because I knew the reputation was a bad film, but I was like, I think one might be for me. And again, I kind of liked this film. I wouldn't say this is a bad film, but just like Cutting Class, there's one element to this that I just did not like, and it's the ghost story aspect of this, and it didn't work for me. I just wish they would have left out um, the silly ghost story part of it. It was unneeded. It was unnecessary. If they could have given the killer just twisted the backstory just a little so it didn't have to involve the ghost element, this would have been really good and I really would have enjoyed it. It's just, I don't know, that one element just kind of lowered the bar for me and it left me with a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. But again, still not a terrible movie. I just wish there was something. I wish they would have done something a little different with it. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, so the next one I don't have a physical copy of, and it is Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Now, this is a film I didn't review, but I did it in. We talked about it two times on this channel. We did it with obviously my, ranking the Christmas films, Christmas '80s slashers, and we talked about the lowest rated '80s slashers of all time. And it was on both of those lists, and it was a bad film. I do not like Silent Night Deadly Night Part 3. It made my of ranking the Christmas '80s slashers. It was last. It was in last place because it's just not a good movie. It's boring. It's really boring, dry, flat. Nothing happened. It's a late '80s slasher, and there was some of those supernatural elements which didn't work for me, which was silly. Yeah, I just not a good experience. It was one of those ones I was looking at my watch the entire time, like how much longer is this film? And it's just it's one I won't watch again. I didn't expectations. I didn't have very high expectations because again I knew it was a bad film, and I was like, well, you never know. It's a Christmas film. There might be something there for me to enjoy, but there really wasn't. It was not a great experience. So yeah, unfortunately, Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Not great. All right, let's move on and take a look at the next one. All right, so the next one on this list here is Bloodhook. Now this is one I was this made of this entire list of these most disappointing ones. This is the one I probably had the biggest expectations for. I was really looking forward to this. I don't know why. Maybe it's the title. Title's awesome. The cover art is fantastic. It takes place at like a summer vacation resort fishing town around a lake, which is awesome. I knew of the premise. People were getting killed with like a fishing lure, was like a big giant fishing lure, was killing people. And I saw some of the practical effects, and I was like, oh, I was just really excited. This is a trauma. Trauma is involved with this film. All those things put together, I was just really excited for it. And again, I don't want to say this is a bad film. It's not good. I didn't think it was a good film, but it's not bad. But for me, it had some fatal mistakes. Basically, what I really disliked about this film was that there was some issues with the plot. that kind of broke the film for me. I talked about it in the review. Um, there's things that happen not just once, like multiple times throughout the film. Um, Things that the characters do that they're so unbelievable and so just they just don't make any sense that nobody would do the things that these characters did. And it just took me right out of the story, and it just made me say, what, no, that's, why would they do that? And it kept happening and happening, and took me out of the story because I kept thinking about the plot inconsistencies. Like there was examples of like a group of friends were up, at the lake, and a small group of them, two or three of them, saw their friend get killed brutally. And the next day they woke up, and they go out on the deck, and they're sun tanning. They didn't they went to the cops and, hey, I think our friend was murdered. And the cops like, oh well, we blah blah blah, no big deal, mind your own business. And they say, okay. And they went back, and they suntan on the beach, and they listen to music, and they drink beer, and they keep the party going. I'm like, what? Like, that makes no sense. Nobody would do that. And there's another scene with like a husband, a wife, and a child are out at dinner at night. And the wife says, oh, I'm going to go for a walk. Pitch black. She goes for a walk down by the water. Of course, the killer gets her. She gets killed. And she disappears. And that's it. And then we go back to the father and the son, like, the next morning. And they don't care. Nothing happened. They don't realize that the wife didn't come back to dinner at all. They didn't go looking for her. They didn't mind when she didn't come back to the cabin at night. And when they woke up in the morning, she wasn't there. And they just kept going. They just went fishing. I was like, what? Like, nobody cares about this poor woman? Like, it makes no sense. Like, this skipped over all these big plot holes just to get the plot moving. It just drove me crazy, and it just took me right out of the film. Regardless of the setting, the kills, any of that stuff that might have been fun for this film, I just couldn't get around those plot holes. It's one of the things. There's a few films that do that for me, and it just breaks the film for me. I can suspend my disbelief better than most, but it's just blatantly it's just terrible in this, and I couldn't get around it. So yeah, too bad. Yeah, so that's Bloodhook. Pretty disappointing. All right, let's take a look at the last disappointing film for me on here. Alright, so the last film here, if you're familiar with the channel and you watch the review, it's probably no surprise. Scream from 1981. Um, yeah, I did not like this film. And I was excited for this. Again, it had a reputation as being bad, but for whatever reason, I always get confident, like, because I like these films. I'm an 80s slasher fan. All the troubles and the problems they have, I kind of like it. I find that charming. And so I go into these films with an open mind. Like everyone hates this film, maybe I'll like it. Not this film. This film is just it's an 80s slasher, but there's nothing about it that is an 80s slasher. There's basically no kills. There's no blood. There's, like I said, there's no on-screen kills. There's no nudity, and there's no killer. Like, the killer, we never really find out who the killer is or what their motivations are. If you when I was done watching this film, I was confused. I was like, so who was the killer, and why were they, what was going on? And I had to go online and look it up, and then I'm like, oh, okay. And there was an explanation, but it was basically in like a 3-minute dialogue with like some weird guy who rode into town on a horse, and he told them a story, and that was your answer. And it was like 40 minutes from the end of the film. So if you didn't catch on at that point, which was really dry and boring, you don't know what it is. It's not wrapped up, and just, man, just not a good film. The setting was really cool. The characters were fun. There were some good things going for this, but like, there's no kills, no blood, no nudity, no killer, no motivation. Like, it's not an 80s slash. There's no mystery. There's no reveal. It's just terrible. Just not good. Really too bad. So yeah, this like, I know I said I wasn't ranking them, but this is for sure my biggest disappointment, just because of how much I disliked the film. hopefully in 2022, I'm sure there will be some films I watch that are as disappointing as this, but I hope not, because this is basically an 80s slasher that isn't an 80s slasher, if that makes sense. All right. All right, that's enough negativity. Let's skip forward here and let's take a look at some of the films that I had the best experience, the best time with. All right, let's take a look at the first one. All right, so the first one we're going to take a look at here is Rocktober Blood. Now, this is a film. I reviewed this on the channel, of course, and I just I had a blast with this film. I had pretty high expectations for it, cause it's a rock and roll slasher, and that's about all I knew. I knew it was kind of like was it like a ghost story? So I knew there was some kind of supernatural elements going on. But it was very light on the supernatural, which for me is good. I won't get into exactly what it is because I don't want to spoil anything. But this film was a lot of fun. Had some well, okay, first off, the setting is great because it's you're basically following an 80s hair metal or glam metal band on tour around in the studio on live concert, and just it's great. It's a fantastic setting. Some really good kills, some good blood, some good nudity, and there was the story. It was a little disjointed. It wasn't the perfect plot, but by the time they end, they kind of had a good little twist reveal that worked, that made sense, and it was great. And then as a bonus, you get the music in this film is just that's why it's probably on this list because the music was so fun. That you get to hear like two, three, four full songs from like I can't remember the name of the band. Is it on the back here? No. Yeah, no. Anyway, but there's an actual band playing. You get to hear them in the studio. Some of these songs, and they're fantastic. And at the end of the film, there's like a concert of the band playing, and you get like two or three full songs, like a concert set. So if you're a music fan, this is fantastic. And during the concert, people are getting killed by the killer is on stage and killing people in front of the audience, and they don't know it. They think it's part of like the death metal glam show. It's fantastic. It's really good. Everything about this film was just really fun. It's not the best film, like I said. It's not. No one's gonna say this is one of the best 80s slashers of all time, but I was pleasantly surprised, and because of the music and the setting, I just had a great time with it. So definitely a good experience. Super glad to watch it. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, next film up here is Bloody Moon. This is a Jess Franco slasher film. He's kind of a king of exploitation, sexploitation kind of thing, and this is his version of an 80s slasher Spanish film. And yeah, Eurosleaze. That's exactly what this is. And it's fantastic. I knew I was gonna like this film. I just didn't know how much I was gonna like it, and I really did. It was a really good time, really fun. It has that European giallo type feel with the plot and the reveal. There's some weird stuff going on, kind of like an incestuous thing going on, which is adds to the sleaze. Cool location, overseas. It takes place at like a boarding school for adults who are like a language school, and it's in Spain. So the students are mostly like these very attractive blonde Scandinavian or like German or uh, yeah, I don't know if they're Scandinavian or German blonde women. They're coming to Spain to learn Spanish. So that's the cast for the most part, and it's a cool location, and some amazing kills. Really, lots of blood, tons of nudity, like I said, beautiful women, great setting. A really good twist reveal at the end. The story is good. Like it has that European, like I said, giallo feel. So if you like that vibe, you probably like this. But of course, like the highlight for me, this film in 2021 has the best kill that I've seen the entire year, and it's this like circular saw kill. It's I won't get too much into it, but it's basically a beheading with the use of a circular saw, and it was the best kill I watched this year, and it was just for that alone, it was fantastic. Super long. The kill itself was super long, super detailed. You saw the camera stayed on the victim for a long time. Blood. It was just everything about it was great. So yeah, Bloody Moon. Just for that kill alone, you should definitely watch it. It's fantastic. Especially I don't know if there's like if there's edited or uncut versions, but if you get this one is uncut, and yeah, definitely you wanna check that out. So, Bloody Moon, fantastic. All right, let's take a look at the next. All right, so the next film here is another one I don't have, and it's another Christmas slasher. Don't Open Till Christmas from 1984. And again, this is a film that we discussed on, ranking of the Christmas 80s slashers. And this came in at number two for me, which was a huge surprise. I had never seen it before. And, I watched it just before Christmas, and it blew me away. I thought it was fantastic. It was, like I said, after Silent Night, Deadly Night, this was the most, this is the best, in my opinion, the best Christmas 80s slasher. I just absolutely loved it. It's a British film, filmed in London. It has a real strong British feel. Like the streets of London, like the underground area. Like you get like stores and like apartments and like schools, everything you can imagine in London. You really get a capture the vibe of London, which is really unique for the genre. We don't have many of those. The kills are fun. There's a ton of nudity. It has a good, again, like the European giallo type plot reveal twist at the end. That for me at least worked really well. I just I was blown away. I was under the impression, I had really low expectations. I was under the impression that it was just another cheap, um, bad, 80s slasher. But I couldn't have been more wrong. It's not a good film. People who don't like the 80s slasher probably think it's garbage. But I really liked it. I thought it was great. And there's just a lot going for it that I really like. The kills are mean-spirited. I had said when I talked about it in the Christmas video, it's kind of like the sister film to, you know, America's Maniac, Italy's New York Ripper. You kind of have, England's Don't Open Till Christmas. It kind of fits in that vibe of a slasher, the mean-spirited, sleazy, trashy slasher film, and it's I don't know. I had a good time. I really liked it. I thought it was fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, next Christmas, make that one to get. Definitely have to check out the uncut version though, because there is edited versions that aren't nearly as good. Definitely check out the uncut version for all the blood and the guts and the nudity. It's worth it, and it's really fun. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, so speaking of foreign slashers, next one on here I have is Nightmares, 1980, and this is an Australian slasher. And you know what? I just realized this kind of fits in with that last group that I just talked about with the Maniac and the New York Ripper and the Don't Open Your Christmas. This is the Australian version, kind of. It's a little more distant than those, but there's definitely that sleazy feel to this for sure. I think the fact that it's an Australian film, it kind of has its own vibe, own feel to it. It doesn't have that European tone that all those films kind of have. But yeah, Nightmares is awesome, really fun. Good location. Like it's set in like a really old, like 1800s, like movie theater. Like a Broadway type theater. Some really fun kills. Some good nudity. It's just sleazy nudity. Like there's like a couple kills where like the victim is nude the whole time, running around the streets completely naked, getting slashed up. It's great. It's it's fantastic. This was a first time watch for me. My expectations were pretty high for this film, and they exceeded them quite a bit. I had a great time with this. This is a recent one, still fresh in my mind. Um, but I really liked it. You know, the packaging is great. It's a really good packaging from Umbrella Entertainment. Just a whole really good package as a whole. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one. Nightmares was a blast. Yeah, just really fun. You know, again, not a perfect film. There was some issues with the plot. You know, it was pretty predictable, um, but that's fine. It was just a lot of fun, and that's what this list is about. It's just which films did I have a good time with? That was the most fun, and yeah, this is up there for me for sure. So yeah, Nightmares from 1980, really good time. All right, let's look at the last film on here that I had a really good time with this year. All right, so the last film we have is Silent Madness in 3D, and this is obviously the reason why this is, I guess, at the top of the list. This is the film I had the most fun with. This is the film that I think is the nicest overall package that I received this year. I just had a blast with this film. Now, this isn't the best film. Like, there's, a bunch of films on this list that we talked about in terms of like film quality are better than this. This isn't a bad film. This is fun. It's your typical run of the mill, early mid 80s slasher. But it just happens to be in 3D, and this release is from Vinegar Syndrome, and they knocked it out of the park. This slipcase is fantastic. It has like a embossed little thing here, beautiful, nice, nice, pretty solid slipcase there. And then of course you get a couple pairs of the Anaglyph 3D glasses, so you can watch this movie in flat 2D. You can watch it in Anaglyph 3D, and you can also watch it in digital. Where is it here? Digital 3D. So if you have like an actual 3D TV and 3D Blu-ray player, it would look even better. I don't have that. I watched it with the Anaglyph glasses, and it blew me away. It was fantastic. The pop-out 3D effects worked really well. They were really fun, but like the overall depth of the film, there was a bunch of scenes where it felt like you were kind of in the room with them. When you're watching with those glasses on, the sharpness and the resolution is not going to be the greatest. I think with the digital 3D, it probably would look a lot better. But I wasn't watching it for that. I was watching it for like the depth, and like I said, there was people having a conversation, and you felt like you were there, standing behind them for a few scenes. It was really cool. It was just a super super fun experience. The pop outs were good. They were well placed, and there was a couple things when I kind of like dodged at the screen. It did what it was supposed to do. I and like I said, I before this film, I had like Friday the 13th point part 3 on DVD. Like maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, I watched it the same format on DVD, and it looked terrible and it didn't work very well. So I didn't have great expectations for the 3D. But I think because it's the high definition scan, there's so much detail in the Blu-ray that it really works so much better on the Blu-ray format than DVD. So I was blown away. I couldn't believe how good it was. Um, so yeah, this was just my most fun. I watched this film and I was giddy. I had so much fun. I can't wait to revisit it. So yeah, if you haven't picked this up, check it out. It's so fun. I think you'll have a really good time. All right, guys. So that's it. That is my entire, best and worst 80s slashers of 2021. All right, so that's it. So yeah, until next time. All right, see ya.